The situation unit leader, they're going to get the tides, currents, and weather. Where are they going to get that? No. That's typically the answer. Yes. No. You can get it off the internet, and that's never wrong, right? Because what's on the internet, it's got to be true. So if you get a dime store meteorologist like myself, I can get on there and get something. Some companies, they subscribe to Berkins weather. There's a couple other weather services out there. Great tools to have. The more you can have, the better off you're going to be. We talked about the situation leader being a town crier. That's where they're going to go out and 5-10 minutes before the meeting starts, they're going to go out and start making the announcement. Unified command meeting in 5 minutes. Everybody who's supposed to be there, come on in. They have the responsibility for the situation input to the incident status summary, the ICS 209 that's presented to the Unified Command. The response plan. They have to ensure that the response plan is available. I mean, you all have a response plan, right, for your vessels? And you have to do everything that's in that plan, right? Unless what? Unless you get an exception. And what are we working on every single day? We're working on the exception, the incident action plan. Once we have the IEP written, presented to the Unified Command, and they sign it, that becomes your exception. You don't have to follow everything that's in the plan all the way down. That becomes your plan. The area contingency plans. I'm sure Aaron talked about the area contingency plans and geographic response plans. Those work hand in hand. Depending on where you are, they might be a suggestion or they might be set in stone. You have to have 300 feet of boom in this area. There are places in California with the area contingency plan, if it says you have to have 300 feet of boom, you have to have 300 feet of boom. It doesn't matter if it's upwind and up current 3 miles. If it says you have to have the boom, you have to have the boom there. So we have to have those area contingency plans available. They're going to do the operation status updates and the safety statistics that they're going to provide to the Unified Command. Where are they going to get those? Safety officer. Safety officer is going to provide those every day to the situation unit leader so he can create his report and give to the Unified Command. Technical specialists, we talked about that a little while ago with the GIS, the marine architect, anybody else that's in your company that could be the environmental specialist we talked about. The GIS is going to prepare the trajectory, which is a great tool that we can use to get an idea where we can expect the oil to go. Nothing beats eyes on. So every time we get a trajectory, we're going to probably run it twice a day. But we're also going to be verifying that with the helicopter. Yeah, the trajectory is showing exactly what we expect it to do. Or we get up there and we say, okay, no, the current's doing something a little weird out here that's not picking up in the program. Something we got to look at. And then the fate and effects. What can we expect the oil to do based on the properties of the oil, based on the weather? How long is it going to last? Is it something that we can expect to evaporate quickly? Or is it like bunker fuel that's going to be there forever? So this is all things that we need to look at. And then the GIS specialist is going to produce all these maps for us. And these maps are all done in layers. So if we had all the layers on this map that it could show, it would be a big blob that nobody could read anything. So, but we can add in, show a layer that shows the medical. In this particular one, we have the 2 medical spots there, the 2 first aid stations. We can show where the incident is in relation to the incident command post. We can show where the divisions are that we're going to work in, the staging areas. So we can just turn these on and off as we need to. The resource unit leader, we talked about them a little earlier. They're going to maintain the org chart. We talked about the 2013 earlier, the initial incident organization chart. That's going to be quickly overrun. We're going to go to the 207, which can expand out very large if we need to. They're going to work with operations to make sure that all the communications plan is done. So on the 204, this is basically the information that's needed on the 204, the individual work assignments that's sent out. It's got the operations section chief's name and phone number, the branch director, the field supervisor. These are all folks that the people downstream need to know who to report to and who to if there's an incident. or an issue, they need to know who to speak with and how to get it all the way up the chain. And they maintain a master roster of all the tactical resources. This is a job that nobody wants, because this is the one where they have to make sure that they have all the counts correct. When the finance section comes back and the P&I club and everybody else, and they want to know why are we spending this kind of money? Well, this is why. This is where it comes from. The amount of resources that are out there, the number of resources that are out there, the feet of boom, the amount of personnel, the number of skimmers. One of the issues during Deepwater Horizon, there had to be a report on the president's desk at 5 o'clock every morning. So they would work very hard, and the resource unit leader was a key part of this, to get that report written and get it sent up. Now, why did this become so important? Because they would send up this report that they're spending $2 million, $3 million, $4 million a day, whatever it was. But what did they key off on? Well, yesterday you said you have 400 skimmers, today you only have 397. Where'd those other 3 skimmers go? So wait a minute, I'm talking about $4 million. But yeah, but where'd those other 3 skimmers go? So the resource unit leader has to know what happened to those skimmers. Did they get demobilized? Did they not need them anymore? Are they broken? Whatever. That's the minutiae detail that they have to know about. The environmental unit leader, we talked about this, could be one of your folks, and in some states it's going to be one of their folks. They're going to develop the resources and risk summary, the 232. That's a very important document, because that tells us the environmentally sensitive areas that are out there. They're also going to come down here at the very bottom here, identify historic and cultural resources. There's areas out there that may have historical meaning. Over in offshore Biloxi, they have a galleon that was sunk 100 years ago or whatever it was, a long time ago. During BP, the BP incident, the folks couldn't go into that area. But where that galleon isn't on a map anywhere, because they didn't want Joe Blow public going out there and diving and messing with the wreck or anything. So it's not on any map anywhere, but the historical folks knew it was there. So they had to work with the environmental unit leader to show where it was, but kind of keep it okay. You just can't work in this area, was the big thing. We had an incident a couple of years ago in California near Ventura that was, at one time in that area, they had an Indian tribe. Well, we had to have a representative from the Indian tribe embedded with each one of the operations that were taking place in this long, they called it it's a valley to me, but they called it a baraka out there. It was a dry creek bed. But we had to have an Indian tribal representative with them, so that if they were turning up the earth, if they saw something that looked like it could be a bone or a piece of pottery or an arrowhead or something like that, everything stopped. They went in, checked it out, see what it was. If it was nothing, everything goes back on. If it turned out to be something, everything in that area stopped. You could go on any other areas and work, but everything right there had to stop until they did their excavation and saw what it was. So that can be very important thing we have to take into consideration. They're going to work with the NOAA Scientific Support Coordinator, and they can actually be a very useful tool with us in working with the SSC, because they're the ones that are reporting back to the Federal Launch Team Coordinator and the Regional Response Team, making sure that they have the information that they need. And then if you've ever been involved in an incident before, you may have heard about SCAT, the Shoreline Cleanup Assessment Team. There's usually 2 SCATs a day, one in the morning, one in the evening, that are going to go out and check to see pre-clean and then post-cleaning, make sure that they've met the objectives that were needed. I think we're running out of time here. Documentation unit leader, we talked about this a little bit. They set up a work area and begin to follow organization. You need somebody who is incredibly organized to do this. They're going to maintain the open action tracker for us, our to-do list. And they're going to be the one that stamps all the documents that come in, the originals, make the copies that need to be made, and then they also determine who gets the copies. Who wants copies of everything that's going on? P&I Club, your lawyers, all these folks, they have some aspect of some buy-in. And then the port coordination thing we talked about earlier, very briefly. These are the folks that work with industry, and they work with the shipping clients, and they base, after a waterway has been closed, they look at the industry needs. Is there something that is critical to the infrastructure of the country, or something that this is the only place we can get this? And if we have a product that they need sitting on one of these ships, if we don't get that product in, does this plant close down? Does that cause ripple effects all the way down? So that's something that these folks do. They do it very, very well here in Houston. It's a combination between the federal unseen coordinator, or the captain of port, and industry folks and the shipping folks, and they all work together, and it works very well.